So one of my favorite pieces of advice that I always like to give to people is to not doubt your ability to adapt in any given situation that you put yourself into. Now, the last year and a half have been very physically and mentally challenging for me simply because I've decided to throw myself into these new challenges that have put me way out of my comfort zone. And the reason why I decided to do these challenges in the first place was because they were simply, most of them were in my bucket list. For example, I've always wanted to learn some form of dancing, so I decided that I would take up ballroom dancing. I always wanted to work with kids, so I decided I would start coaching the under 9-year-olds in soccer. I wanted to do something different at work because I was getting so bored, so I decided I would move into a new department. And one of the things that's been on my bucket list for ages is to go three rounds in an MMA contest. And because of that, I've decided to take up mixed martial arts, or more specifically, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and kickboxing. And also one of the biggest ongoing challenges for an introvert like me is meeting and interacting with people on a daily basis. Now, I must add here that I have not passed all of these challenges in flying colors. No, not at all. In fact, I pass some and I do well in some and I don't do well in others. But I do the best thing that anyone can do when they're faced with new and different challenges, and that is show up with an open mind. Even when I think back to all the different challenges that I faced as a kid growing up, like let's say going to a new school, or playing a new sport, or going on my first ever date, or starting my first ever job, each of those different challenges made me scared and made me nervous. But I showed up anyway, and I did well in some, but then some I didn't do so well in. The very second right after I set my mind to a particular task or a particular challenge, that is when the doubt would begin to creep in. And I would think stuff like, what if the kids at school don't like me? Or what if I miss kicking the soccer ball and everyone laughs at me? Or what if the girl that I'm going on a date with doesn't like me for who I am when she gets to know me? Or what if I muck up an order at my job and then I get fired? And these doubtful thoughts would begin to enter and exit my mind all the way up to the point where I was just about to do whatever it is that I set out to do in the first place. Now, of course, there were times when the doubts did win and they got the better of me and I gave in. And a good example of that would be when I was in year 10. Our school had organized for us to go out into the workforce and to do work experience for 1 week. And I decided that I wanted to know what working as an auto electrician would be like, because I was living in a small country town and the people who were making good money were those who were tradies. And so the school had organized for me to have an interview with one of the local auto electrical companies. And I remember on the way there, I just kept doubting myself so much and so bad that eventually I did give in. I remember seeing the place where I needed to go for that interview and I walked right up to it, then I walked right past it, and then I turned and then I went back home. When my parents asked me why I wasn't at school that week, I think I lied and I made up this excuse that the whole year 10 level had gone away on school camp and I didn't want to go, so I just decided to stay home instead. So that week passed by and I remember when I went back to school, almost all of my classmates could not stop talking about the week that they had had at their chosen areas of work experience. Some of the kids had fun, some were bored shitless, and others were even offered apprenticeships or part-time jobs because of how good they had performed. Listening to all the other kids made me wonder how that 1 week could have turned out for me if I had followed through and done that interview. I knew I was a hard worker and a very fast learner, so the chances of me getting an apprenticeship would have been quite high. Who knows, I might have become a really good auto electrician and had my own company by now. But I will never know for certain what could have happened because I did not attend that interview. However, there are times when I have pushed through the doubt, and sometimes things went well, like the very first job that I had ever had, which was as a paperboy. Right from the get-go, my boss and I got along so well, and because I was always willing to push that extra mile, I always got paid extra. But then there are other times when I still pushed through the doubt, but things still didn't turn out well. Like the very first time I attempted to ask a girl out. I got flat out rejected, and even though I got rejected, I didn't feel bad because I was so proud of myself for having the balls to go up and ask her out, and I knew in my heart that I had done my best. And you see, here's the thing. After years of trying new stuff and either doing really well or doing average or failing miserably, one thing has become very apparent. And that is when fear and doubt get the better of me and stop me from doing something new, the feeling of regret that I get afterwards from not knowing what could have happened hurts so much more than attempting something new and then failing miserably. So the point is that whenever you step out of your comfort zone and you decide to take on a new challenge and you find that you begin to doubt yourself, there is only one thing and one thing alone that you need to do, and that is show up with an open mind. So instead of looking before you leap, and then look back at how far you've come. Peace and love.